Hello students, how are you doing? I hope all is fine. In this video tutorial, I'm going to discuss about supremum and infimum of sets of real numbers. Now the concepts of supremum and infimum is very much similar to maximum and minimum, but it is very important for those sets where the maximum or minimum may not exist. So I'll start with some basic definitions and then I'll discuss some examples.
So let's start with the presentation on supremum and infimum of sets. So we first begin with the definitions. So let us take S to be any non-empty subset of R. We first define a bounded above set. Now we would say that the set S is said to be bounded above if we can find a real number U such that X is less than or equal to U for all the elements X in the set S. Now this number U which we have found is called an upper bound of the set S. The next we are going to define a bounded below set. We would say the set S is bounded below if we can find a real number, say we call it L, such that L is less than or equal to X for all X belonging to S. And this number L which we have found out is called a lower bound of S. The next term which we are going to define is a bounded set. Now we'll say that a set S is bounded if it is both bounded above as well as bounded below. And a set that is not bounded is said to be an unbounded set. Next we move on to a few more definitions. So again we take S to be a non-empty subset of R. The first term which we are going to define is supremum for the set S. Now we would say that whenever a set S is bounded above, then a number U would be supremum for the set S if it satisfies the following conditions. So the first condition is that U has to be an upper bound of the set S, and secondly, if there is another upper bound for the same set S, say we call it V, then U has to be less than or equal to V. So in other words, U is the least upper bound for the set S. Next we are going to define infimum. Now suppose we have a set S which is bounded below, then we would say a number L is an infimum for the set S if it follows the following conditions. And the first condition is that L is the lower bound of S. The second condition is suppose we have any other lower bound of the set S and we call it say W, then W has to be less than or equal to L. So in other words, in the infimum is also a greatest lower bound for the set S. And we have some notes to make here. The first point which we may note here is that a set S may or may not have a supremum or an infimum. So if the set is say not bounded above or not bounded below, we may have a situation when it may not have a supremum or an infimum. The second point to be noted here is that if the supremum and infimum of the set S exist, then they have to be unique, and we denote them by sup S and inf S. So whenever they exist, they have to exist uniquely. The third point is that if the supremum and infimum of a set S exist, then they may or may not belong to the set S. So it's not necessary that the supremum and infimum of the set belong to the set. They may be any real numbers and may not belong to the set S. So all these possible combinations could be there with the set S. Now next we are going to state some of the results which we are going to use in order to find supremum and infimum of certain sets. So the first result which we are going to discuss is the completeness property of R. So the completeness property says that every non-empty subset S of R which is bounded above has a supremum in R. And the analogous property for infima states that every non-empty subset that is bounded below has an infimum in R. So it says that whenever the set S which we are considering is either bounded above or if it is bounded below, it would correspondingly have a supremum or an infimum. The next result is the Archimedean property, which also has been discussed in a video tutorial, and the property says that if we have any x in R, then there has to be a natural number nx belonging to the set of natural numbers such that x is less than nx. The next result is the density theorem, which again we will be using. The theorem says that whenever we have two real numbers such that x is less than y, then there has to be a rational number, say we call it r, such that x is less than r and that is less than y. So this is like a betweenness property for the set of rational numbers. And as a corollary to this, we have this similar property for the set of irrational numbers, which says that whenever we have two real numbers, say x and y, with x less than y, then there has to be some irrational number z such that x is less than z and that is further less than y. So we are going to use these important results and these properties for checking or finding the infimum or supremum of certain sets. Now, before we proceed with the examples, we are first going to take up the density theorem and see the proof of it. So, the theorem, as I had stated in the previous slide as well, so I am going to just repeat the statement again. It says that if you have two real numbers x and y with x less than y, then there has to be a rational number, say you call it r, such that x is less than r and less than y. So, you can always sandwich or find out some rational number in between given two real numbers which are strictly following this inequality. So, x is strictly less than y. So, here we are going to start with the proof, and in the beginning we will assume that x is a positive number. So, that can be done without any loss of generality, and since we have y bigger than x, so y minus x is definitely positive. Now, from a corollary to the Archimedean property, which I have discussed in my previous video, we can always find a natural number n such that 1 by n is less than y minus x. So, whenever we have some real number which is positive, we can always find a natural number n such that 1 by n is less than this number y minus x. So, from this inequality, we can say that nx plus 1 is less than ny. So, this is one result which we have arrived at using this inequality. Now, we again apply another corollary to the Archimedean property for the real number nx, which is definitely positive because we have earlier assumed that x is a positive number and n being a natural number is definitely positive. So, this nx is also a positive number. Now, applying or using this corollary, we can find a natural number, say we call it m, such that m minus 1 is less than equal to nx and that is further less than m. Now, if I consider the first part of this inequality, I can say that m is less than equal to nx plus 1. So, this is another result which I get from this particular inequality. Now, combining these two results, which I have got earlier and this one, we can say that m is less than equal to nx plus 1, and from here we can further say nx plus 1 is less than y. Now, let us go back to this inequality again and use the other part of the inequality, and we will get that nx is less than m. So, we are using this part and we get a relation that nx is less than m. Now, further we also know that m is less than ny. So, combining these two, we can say that m lies between nx and ny, and hence m by n, which is existing because n is a natural number and hence it is not 0. So, we can divide by n and it is definitely positive as well. So, this ratio can be taken and this ratio lies between x and y. So, we have found out a number m by n which is definitely a rational number such that it lies between x and y. So, that proves the statement of the density theorem for the set of rationals. Now, we take up the corollary which says the in-betweenness property for irrational numbers as well. So, again we have two real numbers x and y such that x is less than y, and we have to show there is an irrational number z such that x is less than z and that is further less than y. Now, for the proof of this, what we are going to do is we are going to take these two real numbers. One is x divided by root 2 and the other one is y divided by root 2. So, we take these two real numbers, and using the density theorem, we know that there is some rational number r which is not 0. Why we say it is not 0? Because we know that since we had already taken x to be positive, so x by root 2 is also a positive number, and similarly y by root 2 is a strictly positive number. So this r also cannot be 0, it has to be strictly positive again, such that x by root 2 is less than r, and that is further less than y by root 2. So now if I multiply this inequality by root 2 throughout, I can say that there is this number r root 2 which I denote by z, and that becomes an irrational number, we can see here, because r is rational, and when we multiply it with root 2 it gives us an irrational number, and this z which we have found here is such that z lies between x and y. So that establishes the corollary to the density theorem. So having proved that, now we'll move on to the examples. Now in the first example, I am going to take S, the set S1 to be a non-empty set which is a finite set. So we have a finite set here, and we are going to check or prove whether it has a supremum or an infimum. Now whenever we have a finite set, obviously we can say that it has the largest element, say we call it u, and it will also have a smallest element or the least element, say we call it L. Now nothing smaller than u can serve as an upper bound for this set set S1, and why is that? Because if you take anything smaller than u belonging to the set S1 would definitely contradict the fact that anything less than u is an upper bound, and nothing bigger than L can serve as a lower bound. Again, that is because L being a member of the set S1, if we take something bigger than the number L, obviously it will not become a lower bound for the set. So therefore we can say that the supremum and infimum for this set S1 are U and L. So let's take an example. For example, if our set S1 is containing these elements A1, A2, so on till AN, and suppose we assume that the largest element is A5 and the smallest element is say A2, then we can say that the A5, this element, is the supremum of S1 and A2 is the infimum of S1. And since both of them belong to the set, we also see that the supremum and infimum of this set belong to the set S1. So this is not always true, but in this case of set S1, we have found that supremum as well as infimum both belong to the set. Okay, so next we are going to consider these two sets together, S2 and S3, and we take them together because they have similar elements, and we are going to find out whether they have a supremum or an infimum and what are they if they exist. So the first set which I am taking here, S2, is containing all real numbers between 0 and 1 including 0 and 1, and the second set S3 is containing all the real numbers strictly between 0 and 1. So it means they are not including the numbers 0 and 1 for this set. So we can clearly see that for both these sets 1 is an upper bound and 0 is definitely a lower bound for both of these. Now the only thing which we need to check is whether something less than 1 could be a upper bound for the sets, or something greater than 0, could it be a lower bound for the two sets. So if that can be checked, then we can talk about the supremum as well as the infimum. Now let's first talk about the supremum. Now supremum, as we know, is the least upper bound. So if we can find something less than 1 which is an upper bound for the two sets or either of the sets, then maybe that could serve as a supremum for the sets. But here we claim that anything which is less than 1 cannot serve as an upper bound for the two sets. So why is that? Now suppose if we take any number x which is less than 1 and we claim that, or we say that it is an upper bound for the two sets. Now by the density theorem, it states that we can always find a rational number r such that x is less than r and that is less than 1. So we can always find a rational number r lying between x and 1. And what about this number? This number r also lies in these two sets because it is a real number, of course, and it is between 0 and 1. So this rational number r would belong to both the sets S2 as well as S3, and therefore this x which we had taken to be less than 1 cannot be an upper bound because this r is bigger than x. So this contradicts the fact that x is an upper bound, and hence nothing less than 1 can serve as an upper bound for the two sets, and hence the supremum of the two sets is equal to 1. So using a similar kind of reasoning for the lower bound, we can also again check that anything which is greater than 0 cannot serve as a lower bound for the two sets, and hence the infimum of the two sets S2 as well as S3 is 0. So from all this we can also note one more thing, that supremum of for this set S2 which is 1 and the infimum for the set S2 which is 0 belongs to the set S2, but the supremum as well as the infimum for the set S3 which are again 1 and 0 do not belong to S3 because S3 does not contain the boundaries. It does not contain 0 and 1. Now let's move on to the last example here. Now in this example I am going to take the set S4 which contains all such ratios 4n plus 3 divided by n, where n is any natural number. So we are going to find out whether this set has a supremum and an infimum, and if it has, then what are those numbers. So here we can clearly see that this set S4 is non-empty. Why? Because it contains all such ratios for all natural numbers, so definitely it has at least one element in it, which is for n is equal to 1. So this set is definitely non-empty. Now we can also write this set S4 like this. It has all the elements of the type 4 plus 3 divided by n, where n is a natural number, and if we substitute values of n as 1, 2, 3 and so on, we can get these elements in the set S4. Now we first talk about the upper bound and supremum for the set S4. So we can obviously see that this expression 4 plus 3 by n is less than equal to 7 for all n belonging to n. That's because your n, which has a starting value of 1, gives this number a value 7, and then when you increase the value of n, this goes on decreasing. So you can see it from here as well, and otherwise also we can see that whenever you increase this n, this ratio goes on reducing, and therefore the number would become smaller than 7 as we take higher values of the natural number n. So hence we can safely say that 7 is an upper bound for the set S4. Now by the order completeness property, since this set S4 is bounded above, S4 will have a supremum in R. So that's by the order completeness property of R. Now we claim further that supremum of this set is 7. Now that basically means that we have to show anything which is less than 7 cannot be an upper bound for the set. Now the first thing which we note here is that since 7 is an upper bound for the set S4, therefore supremum has to be less than or equal to 7, because supremum by definition is the least upper bound. So it has to be less than or equal to any other upper bound for the set. Also, since this number 7 belongs to the set S4, therefore supremum being an upper bound would satisfy this inequality. So 7 would be less than or equal to the supremum. Now if we consider these two inequalities together, we can see that supremum of S4 is 7. Now we move on to the lower bound and the infimum for the set. Now as you can see, the expression of the elements in the set S is of the type 4 plus 3 by n. So since n is a natural number, so this 3 by n is a positive number, and therefore 4 plus 3 by n would definitely be bigger than 4. So we can safely say that 4 is a lower bound for this set S4. Now by the order completeness property, since this S4 has a lower bound, it has to have an infimum in the set of real numbers. Now we further claim that the infimum for this set S4 is the number 4. So for proving this, we are going to assume to the contrary, that is, we assume that 4 is not the greatest lower bound. So assuming that it is not the greatest lower bound means we can find a lower bound which is even bigger than 4. So that means we can find a real number v such that v is a lower bound and v is bigger than 4. So that would imply v minus 4 is bigger than 0. Now here what we are going to do is we are going to apply the Archimedean property for the number x, which is 3 by v minus 4. So this number would be a real number because this v minus 4 is definitely strictly greater than 0, and hence this number would exist. So for this real number, according to the Archimedean property, we can find a natural number, say we call it nx. such that nx is bigger than 3 by v minus 4, and this further implies that 4 plus 3 by nx is definitely less than v. So we have this situation. Let's see on the number line. We have this set S4 which is bounded below by 4 and it is bounded above by the number 7. We have assumed that there is a number v which is bigger than 4 and which is a lower bound for the set S4. And by the Archimedean property, we have found a number 4 plus 3 by nx which is less than v. So it would lie somewhere here. So what have we done here, or what have we seen here? That we were claiming v to be a lower bound and we have found a number which is smaller than v which still lies in the set S4. So that's a contradiction, and hence we can safely say, or we can be sure, that infimum of S4 has to be 4. It cannot be anything bigger than 4 and therefore it has to be 4. So that is all I had to take up in this video tutorial.
So in this video tutorial, we have learned how to find out supremum and infimum of sets of real numbers, and we have also seen how to apply the Archimedean property and the density theorem for the same. So I hope it was a good learning experience for you. So bye for now and take care.